It's clear that Donald Trump has long since given up on that elusive discipline that we were all told he would display, as his Twitter interview with Elon Musk descended into more of the same lunacy that we've come to expect from an increasingly desperate and unhinged Donald Trump. He sat for around 2 hours with Elon Musk, who numerous times attempted to end the interview, only for Trump to distract himself with some slurred tirade about whatever shiny object managed to grab his attention. The interview began late because Twitter itself was glitching, which may or may not have something to do with the fact that Elon fired most of his staff. Of course, he couldn't say that, and so instead he tweeted out there was a massive DDoS attack against Twitter. Of course, the DDoS attack didn't impact other streams that were happening at the exact same time, so this must have been one of those very sophisticated special DDoS attacks where only the world's most victimized people get attacked. And when the stream actually worked, well, of course Elon had this to say.
As this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say.
Right, yes, the massive attack. And tell me, is the massive attack in the room with us right now? But onto the interview itself, here's just a few bits that illustrate the absurdity of the interview. Like, for example, here's Donald Trump suggesting that Kamala Harris looked like his wife Melania on the cover of Time magazine.
She's terrible, but she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing, and actually, she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that, right?
Although I guess we shouldn't be surprised for the guy who thought that a photo of E. Jean Carroll was his own ex-wife, Marla Maples. He then started listing off agenda items from Project 2025, which he'd previously claimed he never heard of.
I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now, you look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education.
Weird. We were just assured that Donald Trump had no idea about Project 2025, and yet here he is advocating for its priorities. Here's Trump praising Elon for being anti-union.
I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good.
Shocker how two rich guys known for not wanting to pay workers would bond over their disdain for unions. Which, by the way, may be why the UAW dropped a huge endorsement for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz just last week. Maybe Trump can hire some anti-union actors again and cosplay as a union man when he's hit with the inevitable blowback. Here he is attacking Kamala Harris.
Lunatic. And if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. Now all of a sudden she's saying, no, I really want to see fracking.
Ah, yes, Kamala Harris, the prosecutor, running on a platform of prosecutor versus felon, is anti-police. Got it. And it manages to actually get worse from there.
We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner, we had everything. And he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. A lot of people said, oh, do you think he really...
That's for sure.
Let me tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship.
First off, Trump says we need a man to be president, as if to suggest, what, that women are too emotional? Here's a fun game. Watch Kamala's last rally, watch Donald Trump's rambling screed here on Twitter, and then tell me who's too emotional to be president. He then says you need someone who's unbelievably sharp so we can deal with the threats in the world, apparently suggesting that he's that person. The guy who bragged that he could correctly identify an elephant, a horse, and a giraffe on a test intended to detect the onset of dementia. Yep. Sounds like we found our guy. And apparently the way that he could show that he is that guy is by explaining how he cozied up to the autocrats and dictators of the world before then saying that Kim Jong-un has absolute power. If the guy was any more thirsty for these dictators, he would be getting down on his knees. And then finally, Trump suggests quite the peculiar location for their next interview.
And again, I told you their crime rates all over the world are going way down. which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay, so we'll go, you and I will go and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela because that's what's happening.
Tell you what, this is actually one plan that I can actually get behind. I know that Trump isn't exactly known for keeping his promises, but even I will donate to him if he promises to use the funds to flee to South America. And the disaster that was this rambling diatribe of an interview was obvious. Kamala Harris's campaign issued a statement saying, quote, Donald Trump's extremism and dangerous Project 2025 agenda is a feature, not a glitch of this campaign, which was on full display for those unlucky enough to listen in tonight during whatever that was on X.com. Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. Brutal. And the worst part, all of this was, per usual, an unforced error. I appeared on Jen Psaki's show on MSNBC during the initial tech glitches, and I actually claimed that Donald Trump secured a win when it wasn't working.
Okay. We've been attempting to monitor Donald Trump's interview with Elon Musk. I told you about this at the beginning of the show, and I literally mean trying, because the interview did not proceed as planned. Again, what a shame. But that is apparently due to some sort of technical difficulties. The site showed not available shortly after its scheduled start time at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But I'm told it finally just got underway. Our friend Brian Tyler Cohen has been tracking this for us. He's a YouTube star, one of the best communicators out there, an MSNBC contributor, and the author of the new book, surely will be a bestseller, Shameless Republicans, Deliberate Dysfunction and the Battle to Preserve Democracy. Okay, it's so good to see you, and I want to get to your book, but you took on the unenviable task of tracking what was happening. So what has been happening with the Twitter conversation?
I guess we shouldn't be surprised that the guy who bungled Ron DeSantis' presidential rollout is at least consistent, if nothing else, in bungling yet another conversation with a Republican presidential candidate. And that's exactly what happened. But if you ask me, I think this is actually best case scenario for Donald Trump, because in the instances where he's come out and spoken to the American people extemporaneously in these press conferences and other rallies that he's hosted, it doesn't exactly help him. Whether he brags about having a bigger crowd size than Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, or denying Kamala Harris's ethnicity, every time he goes out and speaks to the American people, it ultimately hurts him in the end. So I would chalk this up to a W for Donald Trump. If only he'd taken my advice, we wouldn't be sitting here right now talking about Donald Trump trashing unions, coddling dictators, and confusing his own wife with his political opponent. And yet, thanks to Trump's inability to control himself, here we are. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.